Meridiam is a company with a clear purpose. Since its inception, its mission was clear. If I quote, "Together with our investors and partners, we deliver sustainable infrastructure that improves the quality of people's lives." How does Meridiam keep that purpose as it grows? Is the mission statement at the core of your actions?
It's true, since inception, 15 years ago, Meridiam has this purpose, and we never change. When I joined Meridiam, the people talking about the mission all the time, and I must admit it's very lively inside the company today. And the key question for us when we became a mission company was to keep it alive, but to make it concrete in the action of the people.
And there's now an explicit mission committee. It represents different sections, component parts of Meridiam. Why was that specific mission committee created? And what particular role does it play?
When we became a mission company, we were lucky, I must say, because we start to think on how we can make it concrete, the mission. And on the same time, we had a legal framework in France called the Loi Pacte in 2019, where they set up this concept of mission company. Usually when we want to translate that in the US, we're saying we are like a B Corp. But I think it's a little bit different. What does it mean? It means that a company is not only to make profit, but it's also a human body. And the people, we want to achieve something more than just making profit. That was at the core of Meridiam since inception. You're talking about the mission. So we had this possibility with this legal framework to become this mission company. What does it mean? It means we put in the bylaws the purpose, what you say. We also set the KPIs to monitor concretely what does it mean to be a mission company. And we put in place the mission committee you mentioned, which is a body of the governance of Meridiam. And by law, the mission committee has to monitor how the mission is implemented inside the company and to report to the Supervisory Board once per year how this mission is in place in Meridiam.
One looks at the modern world and we think government laws drive what companies do. They set the standards. And undoubtedly, the creation of the mission company idea in France was a step forward. But Meridiam was a mission company before the law, and I think applied very early to become a law. The other thing that's fascinating to me is that an independent technical tool has been established that measures the mission impact of each project. And it does that in the context of the 6 most relevant Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, which in fact we treat as pillars of our assessment and our performance.
I think one of the most important things we did in the mission committee, what we did was to set those 5 pillars objectives and to monitor it every year. What was interesting also for me in this link is the mission committee can provide some advice to the company, and the Supervisory Board can decide to continue this task and to ask the company and to ask the management to improve things. And I just want to take one point, which is a very important one, is how the employees can really embrace the mission and how in their day-to-day life they're really committed in implementing the SDG in the projects, but also in the investment policy. And what we see more and more is also our clients, the investors, that are looking how we deliver this mission. Of course, they are very focused on climate change because it's one of the major topics of our generation, but they are also very interesting in the other pillar of the mission, which are social pillars, economic development, and also biodiversity.
There's cynicism in the world. Cynics may say that Meridiam is judging itself. Sure, there are a bunch of committees, but they're the same people. So how do you escape that? How do we get around that appearance that we're judging ourselves? What kind of independent verification is there?
This is a very important topic because today when we look at a lot of commitment taken by companies, sometimes you have the impression that this is communication tools and there is no verification or certification about it. When you became a mission company, what is very important is you have a third party which has to verify every 2 years how the mission is set in the company and what are the results of the commitment you take. And so we had the first verification few years ago when we start. Of course, it was new, so we learned with Vigeo Iris on that. And now we will have in the coming months the second one. We're quite confident about the results, but it's very important to have the transparency on what we want to achieve and how we achieve it. Maybe I have another question for you, Joe. We're talking about impactful company when we're talking about Meridiam. You said, and it's true, since the first beginning, Meridiam want to achieve something which is more than a classical company, and it's a mission itself. How do you see the impact for the people?
First of all, it's become a very large company, Meridiam has been. We're active in a number of fields and in a number of places. But some of the things that are most interesting are that we are helping sort of ordinary people accomplish goals on their own, and we're not doing it for them. We're putting them in a position where they can do things for themselves. I think particularly of some of the solar-related matters in Africa, which quite literally transform the lives of people who were destitute or desperate until the opportunity to take advantage of the sunlight and their energy together. And that is now turning into a very significant source of employment, of power, of self-esteem for people on the ground. We're moving now into fields I think were not anticipated. We're moving into hospitals, we're moving into schools, we're doing a range of other things. What's interesting about this is that they are people-centered. They are helping people reach beyond their particular limitations, and they're doing it on their own. This isn't something being done for them. This is an opportunity for them to do something for a larger community. And in many cases, in some of the places we work, that would not happen otherwise. Meridiam is an instrument of real practical change in the lives of people across the world.
I like the word practical, because in the mission committee, if you remember, we had several examples, because we don't have only a big plan in the mission committee. Sometimes we have a deep dives in some actions, in some examples, and yes, we work a lot in Africa, but also in the US. We monitor how in our asset we can really achieve the involvement of the communities and how we can really work for the people and the planet, which is the mission statement at the end of Meridiam. So the role of the mission committee was not only to set up the big plan we talk about, but it was also to interrogate some examples and sometimes to provide some advice to the team. And I remember the very interesting discussion we had on the SDG roadmaps, if you remember. Yes. Each asset has an SDG roadmaps, and he has to achieve a lot of actions. And the people in charge, what we call inside Meridiam the project leaders, they are committed in achieving that, and it's part of their annual objective in doing so. And I remember a discussion with Patrice Garnier, because he was really focused on that. He always said, yes, we took some commitments at Meridiam level, we monitor in the mission committee, we discuss with the supervisory board, but at the end of the day, what is important is the commitment of the people. And how we're doing that and how we integrate that in our HR policy. This is part of the discussion we had also in the mission committee.
I've been quite impressed by the degree to which there is internal consultation within Meridiam between people working in far-off Paris and on the ground in communities across the world, but also that there is a sense that as important as the project is, so is the impact on individual communities and individuals important. And it's working so far. Nothing's perfect, but I think that in the kind of systems we're setting up and the interest that our investors have in having those kinds of systems, so it's not just a road or a project or something, it is also seen within the context of the community that it's serving.
You mentioned the internal tool we have. It's called Simple. So it was homemade. Now we have the third party providing an advice on it, and I think it's also very important. But we have also, as a very committed company in, I would say, the world, we have a lot of commitments also taken with sustainability assessments and certification, with the wish to achieve the Paris Agreement trajectory, etc. And the role of the mission committee is also to monitor, from a compliance point of view, all this system, and probably to build tomorrow a climate strategy for Meridiam and other type of agenda and monitor it. Yeah. And for the sake of clarity, I think it's very interesting to have a body dedicated in the governance to it, because it will help a lot, not only to explain that to the outside world, but also to explain to our investors how they can achieve their own goals, because it's more and more important for them. I think the first important thing is for the people to understand and to believe in the mission. And we had surveys inside the company to monitor what is the level of understanding, and we reached levels of 92%, 94%. So I think each individual in the company, not only what I would say the old Meridiamers, but also the newcomers, they are aware about this mission, and I think if they join Meridiam, it's also for that. Yeah. So that's the big picture. Internally, what Meridiam is doing is to invest, and after to manage assets. This is the core of and at each moment of the life of the project, we integrate the elements, the SDG elements. When we decide on investment, we have a first assessment on that. We're trying to build the SDG roadmap. If you making a big infrastructure, of course you have a very strong impact on the people, on the communities around. So how we can work with them from the first beginning. And after, during the life of the project, we're committed in really improve the score of those projects in our 5 pillars of the mission. Just taking some examples, we have a group of professionals in roads and tunnels. It's what we call the clubs. And we ask to them how you can improve the level 1 and the scope 1 and the scope 2 of the climate impact of your assets, and what concrete tasks you can implement inside the assets. And they work together for 1 year, and they deliver really a roadmap. When you start to work on roads, yes, you can implement solar panels, you can also work on the safety, you can, etc., etc. And make it concrete, I think it's the most important thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
It's been a fascinating voyage for me.